what if most of what we call communication is, well, just noise? Today, we are diving deep into the pretty radical ideas of the philosopher Krishnamurti, and he challenges us to rethink, well, pretty much everything we thought we knew about talking, listening, and even our own personal responsibility for the way the world is. And look, this isn't just some dusty old philosophy lesson. This is a journey that could actually change how you experience your very next conversation. I mean, think about it. We are talking all the time. Our phones are buzzing, our inboxes are overflowing, our calendars are just jam-packed with meetings. But Krishnamurti asks this really unsettling question. In the middle of all this chatter, are we ever truly communicating? Or are we just, making noise at each other? Let's dig into what he really meant by that. So let's start with Krishnamurti's first big move. He completely demolishes our standard definition of communication. For him, it's not about one person talking at another person. No, it's something much deeper, something that requires a total shift in how we approach the whole thing. Okay, this right here gets to the absolute heart of his idea. See, true communication isn't just a transfer of information. It's a creative act. It's what happens when people are literally thinking together in real time to build a totally new understanding. The point isn't to win an argument or prove you're right. It's to explore an idea from every possible angle, together. And for that kind of shared creation to even be possible, he says these three conditions are absolutely essential. At the same level, that means you got to drop all authority. There's no teacher, no student. At the same time, demands your total presence. You can't be thinking about what you're going to say next. And with the same intensity, that means you both have to care about the conversation equally. Yeah, that's a pretty high bar to clear, right? This quote just paints the perfect picture, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. When you're actually walking with someone, you're at the same level, you're there at the same time, and you're looking at the same things with the same focus. That, for Krishnamurti, is communication. If you're not on that shared journey, you're really just two people walking past each other on totally separate paths. Okay, so if communication is this shared journey, what's the vehicle that gets us there? According to Krishnamurti, it's the art of listening, and he argues it's a skill that, well, for most of us has been almost completely forgotten. This is such a huge point. Most of us, we listen through this thick filter of our own biases. Before the other person has even finished their sentence, our mind is already racing. Oh, I agree with that. Nope, that's totally wrong. That reminds me of my story. But true listening, he says, is the act of just setting all of that aside. You're not listening to come up with a clever reply. You're listening just to understand. And when we listen like this, we move beyond just communicating into what he calls communion, this deep state of shared understanding. And notice that word he uses, serious. That word is the absolute key to everything that comes next. But his definition of seriousness, it's probably not what you're thinking. So when Krishnamurti talks about being serious, he doesn't mean being all glum and sullen. Not at all. He's describing a really powerful, energetic state of mind that's fundamentally tied to taking total responsibility. Here's the key difference. Seriousness isn't about planning to do something. It's not, oh, I'll get to that later. It is the doing. It's that immediate, focused energy you have in a crisis. Think about it. If you see a house on fire, you don't schedule a meeting to discuss possible solutions. You grab a bucket. That is seriousness. And this is where the idea gets really radical and really personal. Krishnamurti is urging us to stop pointing fingers at the government, at corporations, at them. He says that we as human beings have all co-created the chaos in the world. So the responsibility for fixing it isn't out there somewhere. It's right here with every single one of us. It's a heavy thought for sure, but it's also incredibly empowering when you think about it. And this slide right here shows the broken loop we're all stuck in. Look at step 1. We start with a conclusion, some old idea from the past. Then in step 2, we build a whole plan based on that old idea, not on the new problem right in front of us. So of course, in step 3, we fail. And then what do? We just tweak the plan a little bit, go right back around the circle, and never ever question the faulty conclusion we started with. So how do we break out of this loop? Well, this brings us to what might be the single most mind-bending insight in all of Krishnamurti's teachings. It requires a complete and total shift in how we see ourselves in relation to all the world's problems. So what's really going on here? Why do we keep failing to solve these huge, deep-rooted issues? what is the one fundamental barrier that's stopping us from actually taking effective action? It all comes down to this one single powerful illusion. We believe the problem, whether it's war or poverty or division, is out there, happening on the other side of the window. And we believe we are in here, safe, separate, just watching it all happen. Krishnamurti argues this feeling of separation is the absolute root of our inaction. And his next statement is an absolute bombshell. He claims this isn't just some nice, feel-good philosophical idea. He is saying it is a literal fact. The greed, the violence, the chaos that we see out there in the world, it's just a projection of the greed, violence, and chaos that exists inside human consciousness. They are not two separate things. This is the core realization. The problem you're looking at isn't some it over there. It is you. The observer is the observed. And once you truly get that, he says, your entire relationship to the problem just transforms. You're no longer trying to fix something that's separate from you. Okay, so if you accept this idea that you are the world, the next question is pretty obvious. How in the world do you create change? And this brings us to Krishnamurti's most practical and maybe most counterintuitive technique, the power of negation. Now, this completely flips our normal way of thinking on its head. Krishnamurti is saying that positive action doesn't come from chasing after some positive ideal. It's actually what's left over when you clearly see and then discard what is false. This is a perfect example. He says the very act of trying to be moral creates an internal conflict, a struggle, which is itself a form of disorder. But, he says, if you can just observe and understand the roots of your own immoral actions, your selfishness, your fear, and simply stop those actions, what's left behind, naturally, is a moral state. And let's be really clear here. This negation isn't a violent act of suppression. You're not fighting with yourself. It's an act of intense, quiet attention. When you can observe a pattern in yourself, like your own ambition, without judging it, you just see it for what it is. And in that moment of pure observation, the me that's attached to that ambition just kind of dissolves. Let's use success as an example. Negating success doesn't mean you have to go out and become a failure. Not at all. It just means looking closely, like you're putting it under a microscope and seeing all of its parts, the ruthlessness, the conformity it demands, that subtle desire for power. When you see the entire structure of success that clearly, you're just not driven by it anymore. The seeing is the action that sets you free. And this brings us right back to the present moment. The crises we face, personally and globally, are always new. I mean, by definition, a crisis is something you haven't seen before. And this is exactly why our old, prepackaged solutions always fail. To meet a new challenge, we need a new mind, one that isn't weighed down by all the conclusions of the past. So in the end, Krishnamurti brings the entire weight of the world's problems right back to this very moment. The challenge isn't out there in the future, it is always right here. And so the only question that truly matters is the one you see on the screen. Are you ready to respond?